Happy New Year, Canada. Let's make a resolution to lose all that weight we gained over Christmas and New Year. I blame the turkey. Anyways, before we talk into 2025, I've got 3 reckless predictions for Canadian politics in 2025. So let's get into it. At number 1, the carbon tax will be gone before the end of the year. I know, don't tempt me with a good time. The Trudeau government is not in a position to be cutting taxes, but when has that ever stopped them before? They announced the 2-month GST holiday and a $250 rebate basically before sharing that the federal deficit has ballooned to $62 billion, right? When has it ever stopped them before? But what was more interesting about the whole GST holiday over Christmas thing, however ill-advised it was just the fact that it was not Trudeau's original idea. Roll tape, please.
It's getting harder to make ends meet in Canada, and will only get harder as we approach the holiday season. Canada's Conservatives have a plan to help Canadian families and small businesses. We will implement a month-long GST holiday this December. All purchases at retail stores will be tax-free for a month. It's time to give families a break and help small businesses recover. Canada's Conservatives are the only party with a detailed plan to lower prices. Together, we will secure the future.
Sound familiar? That was Erin O'Toole, former leader of the Conservative Party, pitching the same idea in the lead up to the 2021 federal elections. At the time, he was laughed out of town. I believe Justin Trudeau might have called it a gimmick at the time. He had argued that such a temporary measure would not address the underlying economic challenges facing Canadians. Fast forward 3 years later, the Trudeau government is in a bind. They're facing a race to mediocrity. They need something amazing, something that will show Canadians that they're good for another 4 years. Aha! They polished off the opposition's idea. It is truly brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It is still a shit idea today, but they did it anyways. So that brings me to the modern day. I genuinely think we could see the carbon tax get scrapped before the end of the year. Justin Trudeau has demonstrated that he is not above taking the opposition's policy in order to try and sway the public sentiment. Now, of course, we know at this point what the public thinks of the carbon tax. Many Canadians feel the carbon tax increases their cost of living, particularly through higher prices at the pump and increasing home heating bills, right? So there's also the question of whether the carbon tax is effective for reducing emissions and combating climate change. I believe, and this is a reckless prediction after all, that if Trudeau makes it past January without stepping down, he might just remove the carbon tax as a final play. I say that, but the carbon tax getting removed isn't dependent on Justin Trudeau remaining in office. On the Conservative side, axing the carbon tax is one of Pierre Poilievre's tried and trusted slogans. If Poilievre wins, as the polls show he will, this is literally a layup for him. Canadians are not focused on the environment right now. They're too focused on the fact that they can't feed their families. And I think he will take that win in his first year in office, maybe even before 2025 is over. So let's move on to number 2. At number 2, Conservatives will win the next federal elections, but maybe not as much as you might think. So an early election looks to be coming, barring any form of sorcery by Justin Trudeau to get the NDP back on side. Earlier in the fall sitting of the House of Commons, Justin Trudeau lost the Bloc Québécois backing. The NDP, even before the fall sitting, ripped up their supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals. And yet, somehow, Justin Trudeau still managed to survive the fall. Once he lost Chrystia Freeland, though, in the final weeks of 2024, his position became even more tenuous. The Liberals are in disarray. The mutiny is real. They want their leader gone. But why do they think it will make a difference? The Liberals are down 25 points in latest polls. Surely Trudeau cannot possibly be their only problem, right? Well, maybe he is. For some reason, people don't like him. It's not just the policy on immigration or the carbon tax. Sure, those have proven to be unpopular. But for some reason, it's him that people don't like. You'll talk to people and they'll tell you he just seems a bit out of touch with everyday Canadians. For some people, it is controversies like the blackface scandal or the SNC Lavalin affair. It's just Trudeau that people don't like for some reason. So now that there is a chance he will resign before the next election, perhaps the Liberals may get a lifeline. Now, I'm not convinced that people like Pierre Poilievre because of his policies. I'll go as far as saying a lot of people are choosing to vote for him because they dislike Trudeau. So maybe there's a lifeline for the Liberals. Now, I don't know that their lifeline will last very long if they choose to put Chrystia Freeland up against Pierre Poilievre. She was right there for everything the Trudeau government did after all. So I don't see why it would be any different if they put Chrystia Freeland up as leader. Now, Mark Carney, on the other hand, he's got money in the bank. Pardon the pun. Canadians probably remember that as Bank of Canada governor, he did a phenomenal job during the 2008 global financial crisis. We're in a different sort of crisis now, but one could argue that he is uniquely qualified to lead us at this point. You see what I just did there? So we've got money problems. This is a thing, right? We've got money problems in this country. Maybe we should put a money guy in charge? I don't know. My point here is maybe the Liberals will put Mark Carney up against Pierre Poilievre. Now, I'm not convinced that there's a way back for the Liberals, but I'm going to recklessly predict that they might not lose as badly as you think. Or maybe, and it seems inconceivable at this point from where we are, maybe they could actually win a minority somehow. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but let's move on to number 3. At number 3, Alberta to become the 51st state. So, you know how Donald Trump has been talking a lot about making Canada the 51st state, right? The 51st U.S. state. He has threatened Canada with 25% tariffs, to which Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, countered by saying he would withhold energy exports to the U.S. Okay. Now, we were supposed to have a Canada first approach. This was the whole thing, right? We were supposed to tell America to kick rocks or whatever. Either way, we're not supposed to just roll over and show our bellies to Donald Trump. Well, not Daniel Smith. The Alberta Premier believes convincing the Americans of their dependence on Alberta oil and gas is the key to making sure that Trump doesn't follow through with his tariff threats, right? So there's that. But the current Alberta Premier shares a lot of values with Republicans as well, right? We know this. Jordan Peterson and Tucker Carlson absolutely love her, right? I bet Trump as well probably does. So maybe we've been looking at this all wrong all along. Maybe the whole of Canada doesn't join the US, but is there a world where Alberta becomes the 51st state? We're used to hearing about Quebec wanting to leave Canada. What some of you might not know is that Alberta has tried to leave before. There's a whole history there. To be fair though, the recent resurgence of the Alberta separatist movement is because they don't like Justin Trudeau's policies very much, right? So they believe it hampers Alberta's economic potential. So could we really see Alberta leave? Daniel Smith has been getting a bit cozy in some of her visits to the US. Fox News also loves her, apparently. Anyways, real quick, those were my 3 reckless predictions for 2025. Hey, don't take these too seriously. They're reckless predictions after all. So add yours in the comment section. Look into your crystal ball or whatever, and let me know what you see in the future for your province or for Canada as a whole. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.